Hello, good morning. This is Nancy. Yeah, when creators do video and the video fail, they come and they tell you they had technical issues, or they did the video and the voice didn't come. In fact, they come to explain the reason why they did a video, a first video, and the video came out bad or something, and they decided to do a second video because the previous one didn't work out well. Sometimes we feel pain, like, how? You should have put it there for us to watch it like that, but they don't do so. They rather bring the new one they do. Sometimes even me, I always think that the things you might have said at first might not be repeated on the second video. I did a similar thing happened to me. I did a video and the video didn't come out well. The scene, everything, the picture quality. In fact, the quality was so bad. But I have decided to still upload that video so that people will come to feel why creators don't just post the videos that go bad. For me, I want to upload it so that we'll come to understand the reason why sometimes when videos go bad, they rather do a second video instead of putting it there. It wasn't that bad. It really, really bad. I will still post it though, but I just wanted to let you know why. The feeling that I used to have when creators create a new video and put it is the same feeling I felt today. I got to understand why they try to do a new one instead of uploading, but I'll still upload it. So the next video would come up. It talks about some of the shocks I experienced during pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. So see you in the next video. Alright, kindly do well to subscribe to this video. Bye. See you. Hello, good evening. This is Nancy here. Yeah, I'm just coming back from a program and I decided to do this video. I didn't want to let my dress go off without me doing this video. Yeah, so let's go ahead with why I'm doing this video today. Yeah, I want to talk about some of the things that shocked me about pregnancy and postpartum. This one is pregnancy and postpartum edition. Yeah, some of the things that shocked me. Yeah, there were things, even though I read so many things throughout my pregnancy period. I was relying on baby center. Yeah, I had a lot of information. I read a lot, so I had a lot of information, but I still had some shocks, and these are some of the things I want to consider today. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do well to subscribe to this channel. Well, let's go ahead with the video. Alright, the first thing I would like to talk about is about the water breaking. In fact, I've written some of the things here. It's 10 p.m. Yeah, it's 10 p.m. and I'm doing this video. So let's just dive into the video. The breaking of the water that people talk about. Yeah, throughout the period of the pregnancy, you read and you hear people say that your water will break, and so as you're approaching your due date, you'll be expecting that water to come, and then you are aware that this is the sign you have to go to the hospital. And especially you watch it on TV. Yeah, most of the time those movies on TV, anytime you see a pregnant woman ready to give birth, yeah, when a pregnant woman is due in a movie, you see that they just stand there with their legs open and you see water coming out, and so that is what you also expect to see. That is the normal thing that you always expect. So as you approach the due date, you are looking for that sign before you move to the hospital. But I think for me, I see that water, the breaking of the water is different. It varies with each person. Sometimes some experience the breaking of the water, others too don't experience. With my experience, I reached my due date. I got to the hospital. They checked me severally. I was dilated. I dilated until I was 10 centimeters and the baby was coming out, and that water didn't break. Yeah, that was my experience. So I only wanted to make people aware that it might be different with each pregnancy. Any pregnancy, we are all different. So some would have their water break before the due date. Some would also have their water break, and then that would be a sign for them to go to the hospital. I got to the hospital and I heard someone said her water broke about 3 days ago, and the baby had not come out until the time that I was there with her. And so we are all different. So we should expect different things for ourselves. We shouldn't always expect that what this one experiences, what the other person would experience. So for me, I go to the hospital. I was 10 centimeters. The baby was coming out. The nurses brought their to bring the baby out. Before they used something like a needle to pierce the water to come out before the baby could come out. So for me, I didn't experience that water breaking before I went. I only felt some pain, the early pain, and then I called and they asked me to come. Even when I got there, I wasn't really dilated, so they wanted me to come back home and then go back, but I stayed there until I was well dilated before the baby could come out. So that was for my first pregnancy. So for my first pregnancy, I didn't experience that water breaking. Yeah, it is different with everyone. And for my second pregnancy, my water broke. Yeah, I experienced that water breaking before I went to the hospital. Yeah, so I had two different experiences. One, the water didn't break. The doctors did it. And then the second one, it happened in the house, and then I went to the hospital. So it varies. It might not be the same for everyone. Some, the water coming out even days before the baby comes out. For me, with the second one that the water came, it was at that moment I started dilating, and then I went to the hospital and they checked. I was like 5 centimeters. Yeah. And then the baby came out later. Yeah, so that was the shock I had at first, because I was expecting that the water would break before I would go to the hospital, but it didn't happen for me for the first time. So that was the first shock I had. Okay, let's look at the second shock that I have. The fact that, you see, before you go to deliver, sometimes some hospitals, in fact in Ghana, you are given a list of things to bring to the hospital. So that's what you pack in your hospital bag, and then you send it to the hospital. So amongst those things, you have a pad. They will ask you to bring a sanitary pad. So on the day of delivery, I didn't really know what that pad was going to be used for though. On the day of delivery, I was wearing an andi, and they told me to remove the andi and then put only pad. I was in shock, because I was thinking you wear your andi throughout, not knowing in the delivery ward you don't wear anything. I thought you wear your andi when the baby is ready to come out, then you just put your andi down, and then the baby comes out. But it's not so. That is why I think in most government hospitals, they don't allow any male into any delivery room, because over there, nobody wears any underwear. Yeah, everybody goes naked. Maybe some will have some cloth covering themselves, or maybe a nightwear, a big nightwear without any handy. Yeah, that is why they don't allow any male inside, because there could be other women there and they wouldn't want anyone to come and see, any male to come and see, maybe your husband or something to come and see anybody's nakedness. Yeah, but maybe if it's a private room, that one a husband might be allowed, or any relative who is very close to you could be allowed in. Yeah, I was so shocked when they told me to just put the pad there, like, and I was still in shock, because I was wondering, the pad, most of the time, with the sanitary pad, you place it in a pants before you wear it. But when they asked me to just put the pad there, I was wondering, won't it fall down? But when I did, it didn't fall. Yeah, that really shocked me, because I thought it would fall. But I think getting to when you are pregnant, your hip closes. Yeah, the pelvic area, I think it closes. So it was able to hold the pad without any handy. So that was one thing that shocked me. And then another thing that shocked me was bleeding after birth. I didn't know that after birth you could bleed. Like, there were people, I didn't, yeah, you bleed, aside the normal bleeding for like 3 or 4 months, some experience it for about a month or 2. The kind of bleeding I'm talking about is the heavy one, the first 2-3 days. The huge bleeding, a lot of bleeding comes. And in my first hospital, during my first childbirth, there was this lady who was constantly, she bled until they checked her HB, and it was so low. I was so shocked. I didn't know that was, and even during that childbirth, the kind of blood that comes out, I was like, is it that all the menstrual cycle blood had packed for like 9 months and it's now coming up? Because the amount of blood that comes out, it's so shocking. Yeah, and after childbirth, to the first 2 or 3 days, you have to go through that same bleeding until the normal bleeding that comes. But I didn't know that. In fact, even the normal bleeding that comes for like 2 or 3 or 4 months, some experience up to 3 or 4 months, I didn't know that is how it is. Yeah, I didn't know that you have to bleed after childbirth. Like, there will be some blood coming, like a menstrual cycle kind of blood. All I thought was, after birth, the blood comes out, the baby comes out, and you're good to go. Not knowing you bleed for some time, like a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah, I don't know for others though, but some takes a long time. Some too, within 2 weeks, it might be okay. Yeah. That was very shocking too, because I didn't know. I only thought the blood and the baby comes out, and then that's all. I didn't know that you have to be. And then there was something that shocked me. There was this shivering that comes as soon as you give birth. If you have experienced that kind of shivering, cold, that extreme cold. In fact, I haven't experienced that thing before. You see those days when it rains and you stay in the rain, maybe in a swimming, I don't know what actually, where you can go to experience that kind of cold. You feel very cold and you shake, your body shakes. Yeah, that was the kind of, my body shook. I had some bumps on my skin. I was shaking. Yeah, you shake and the bed shakes. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. In fact, I was even afraid of how I was shivering, because at that moment when I started shivering, the doctors came, they put blanket, different type of, and there was a particular light on me in the delivery ward. It was very hot. Even aside that, like, they put plenty blankets on me before I could feel. Like, in fact, for like 30 minutes, I was just shaking it, and like a strange cold shake. I don't know if you have experienced that, and if you have given birth before and you have experienced it, please write it in the comment. I think a friend of mine told me about that, but I didn't know that it was that extreme. If you experience it, you know how it feels. Yeah. So if you have also experienced that before, kindly write it in the comment section how you felt. For me, it was a bad experience. Like, you feel like you are about to die. Like, I was in shock. Like, what's happening to me? Okay, let's move on to the next. The next one is it's your time to give birth, and then the nurses have to check.
So they check how you are
much
dilating, the level
how much
of
they
how
say
you are
they like they
dilating.
put some gloves on their fingers, and then they have to put it under you to, and they turn it somewhere. So what they do is, in order for them to see how much you have dilated to, it starts from 1 to like 10. So like every 30 minutes, aside them checking the heart rate of the baby, they checking the mother's heart rate, the baby and everything, they also check how much you have dilated to. And so what they do, they put some kind of gloves on their hand, and then they put, I don't know whether it's a spirit, I don't know what they put on their hand, and then they insect it under you. Then they turn their hand. The way that thing is very painful. I didn't know. I was in shock. Like, my first time going to the hospital, I got to the hospital and they told me I was just 2 centimeters dilated. So even to the first, before they could check for me to see that I was 2 centimeters dilated, I couldn't. I was just in shock. Like, they told me to lie down, and then they started, and my legs were just closed very tight because I was afraid, and it was so painful. Then they said, sister, please open the legs to it, because if we don't do it, we can't check. Still, my legs were closed. They said, sister, if you're not ready, then go. Then I had to just open it, and then they did it. As soon as they start, the pain starts, but they still have to check. But eventually, when they checked 1, 2, or 3 times, I saw that this thing wasn't going to, because they check it constantly. Sometimes they have to check to see whether constantly. So it gets to a stage, you'll be tired. So when they come, you just let them do it, because the pain you're experiencing the dilating pain, and then you have to experience the pain of them going to check how much you have dilated. It's never easy. Yeah, it was really a shock to me. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next thing that shocked me was menses stop for some time. Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, during pregnancy, the menstrual cycle stops. Yeah, but after pregnancy too, it stops after childbirth. Yeah, during the postpartum period. Sometimes some people just start their menstrual cycle as soon as they deliver, maybe a month after. Some say their menstrual cycle starts after a year. I also didn't know that it will stop for some time before it will start coming, and it was a shock to me, because after childbirth I bled for some time. So I thought that just after that bleeding, maybe the normal cycle will start, but it stopped for some time, and then it starts after some months, sometimes 4 months or 3 months. But some people say it stopped for 1 year. I was really shocked, because I didn't know about that. Yeah, even though I might have read it, but I didn't really, sometimes there are some things that you really need to experience it before you get to understand. Yeah, I think that was my situation. I might have read it because I read a lot. Yeah, I was on baby center every morning, evening. Yeah, baby center was just like my social media. I wasn't going anywhere. Every morning I'm on it. Every free time I'm having to read something because I wanted information. There were no much information online, and a lot of the information people might give you, in fact, I just wanted to read to also have knowledge about what I was going through. So that was my situation. So I read it, but I might not have understood it until I got to experience it, because I'm sure I read it somewhere that the menstrual cycle will stop and then it will start again. But I didn't really understand until I got there, and I was shocked. I was like, hey, why is it not coming? Why? I thought it was only pregnancy that stops the menstrual cycle, the menses. How come it's not coming again? But well, it started coming again. So these are some of the things that shocked me in pregnancy and postpartum. There are some other things that I'll talk about in another video. So let's end this one here. Today I'm tired. Continue in another video. We'll talk about other things about childbirth and pregnancy, childbirth and postpartum in another video. See you. Bye. If you haven't subscribed, do well to subscribe to this channel. See you. Bye bye.